guys, I'm Marisa at Marisa Rothman.
Danielle at Danielle TBD.
And this is our podcast, We Have Thoughts. And so we're going to do things a little bit differently than sometimes you're used to. We're going to talk about just a bunch of shows that we are watching / love / really want to talk about this summer. So we're starting off with one of my favorite new comedies, I adore it. You're the Worst. Which, the title is misleading because it's not the worst.
It's true.
Because it is one of those titles where, if it had been a bad show, the reviews basically write themselves. And whenever you have a show that kind of says that it's going to, push the boundaries of, acceptable behavior, et cetera, you sometimes go, how good is this going to be? How much depth is there going to be? Is it just going to be, crazy antics for the sake of crazy antics? But I'm, obsessed with the show. I've seen the first 4 at this point. I want to rewatch them over and over again, but I'm not because I'm trying to be good and trying to actually do my other things that I have to watch for work because my job. But it has so much unexpected, bizarre heart. There are things that they say that I'm I really wish I could say that, or I really think that, and I really feel the first 3 episodes are really strong, but I feel things really gelled together in a great way by episode 4 because you start to see flickers of what the supporting characters can do as well. And I think that it's important when you have a comedy, especially a comedy that's kind of centered on a relationship, which can be so hit or miss. We've seen so many comedies that, you break up, you get together, you're the will they, won't they, the this, the that. In order for this show to work, I think the ensemble has to be a complete unit, and I feel Episode 4 really proved they can be a complete unit. They can carry their own storylines. I think Des did a really great job with the PTSD storyline. I think it's a hard topic to handle, especially in a comedy, and the depth that they were able to go into without it completely being a different tonal change for the show was great. I think Heather is really kind of underrated, and I love there are little moments when you see the cracks in her facade, when you realize that this character is not as amazingly happy or as amazingly content as she lets on sometimes. I think Aya and Chris are just adorable in their banter, and the breakfast conversation was so valid.
Well, that's the thing, it's interesting. I mean, obviously I agree that I think the ensemble in a comedy is what makes or breaks a comedy, but what I found so interesting about this specific comedy was that for the first few episodes you really weren't focused on the other characters. They really forced you to get to know, whether that meant or not, the couple. And these are characters that could be really unlikable, and yet I think it says something that the show is just saying, no, we're putting the weight on their shoulders, and we trust the audience will understand, and we trust the audience will see the relatability. And I think a lot of it is very, it's very, for lack of a better term, modern. It's in the now. It's these people say some things that other people probably shake their heads at, but the majority of people are thinking it. So the fact that they're what would have been a few years ago an unlikable, the worst type of character is now the status quo, and the lead characters and the people that you will relate to the most, I think says a lot about where we are in culture and society and TV. And they populated the ensemble with likable characters as well. But Madison has some thoughts about You're the Worst, you guys. I don't know what they are because I don't speak dog. Anyway, we can cut out his barking, right?
You can try.
Sorry. So they populated the ensemble with really likable but more traditionally likable characters. And I do like them, and now, especially now that we're getting to know them, I like the stories that they're telling, but I like the leads so much more that I would have been fine if it was just a show centered on those 2 characters, which is something that I didn't expect. When I saw a show like this, I think, the title definitely caught me off guard, and I was well, I hope they're not literally the worst, because you will have people that think they are. But there are, and we see this a lot, I think, with movies where they take that to an extreme, and they're they are literally the worst, and or the Jean Ralphios of the world or whatever. But you're asking us to follow them and relate to them week to week and invest in their relationship. So I was really pleasantly surprised in a way that I did not expect to be.
Yeah, I mean, this is a show where you could have the writers could have very easily made these two caricatures.
Yeah.
Where it could have been so one-dimensional that
Yeah.
it was something where it's like, oh, they're terrible. What are they going to do this week?
Right.
To be terrible.
Right.
But they're not. They're layered. And I mean, I'd argue they're not even bad. They're just
not.
complex. They're
But-
humans. They occasionally
But they come off to
fair.
certain people, they would come off.
To be fair, they
in
stole a cat. Their first introduction was getting drunk and telling off a bride at the wedding and then stealing a gift.
Sometimes you
Not
have to,
necessarily
you know
the
what?
best
Sometimes they
things.
deserve that and whatever.
Yeah,
So-
it's something that's not necessarily the best of humans, but I don't also necessarily think it's the worst. It's been one of the, it's a weird thing. We've talked about this, and I think I've also been public on Twitter by saying this. There's not a lot of really great comedies this upcoming television season for fall on network. I thought there was a really good batch of comedies last season. Like I crazy love several of them. This season, I feel like this comedy is giving, I don't know, it's something that's really clicking for me. It really makes me happy. I feel like it's really genuine, which is nice. It doesn't feel...
Well, it's also, I mean, the crazy antics that you spoke of is how a network would have done this story. This is not on a network.
Yeah.
It's not on a broadcast network.
Yeah.
It's because it's on FX, they can be layered and they can say, take these people for their complexity and we trust you in a way that if this was a sitcom on NBC or CBS, it would be, the polarizing, over the top.
Yeah. I do like how also they're utilizing LA and filming in LA because, there's not a lot of...
Well, now there's no production.
I mean,
there.
it sounds silly to people who might not necessarily follow this stuff so much, but there's not as much production in Los Angeles as there used to be.
And not location production.
And
there's a lot of stuff on sound stages, but
and
that's not the city.
A lot of comedies are are here, but they're very much in their lot, or occasionally they'll venture off their lot to go to the lot across the street or something like that. It's not like a super huge using Los Angeles to make Los Angeles feel that way, and I appreciate that it, as someone who lives in Los Angeles, it feels authentic to me, and I like being able to actually say, okay, yes, you're filming in Los Angeles and you're actually making use of the city. Well done. I like it a lot. It makes me happy, and I want to watch all the episodes now, please. It's not too much to ask for, right? It's not going to happen.